Was he nervous leading into this fight?
Yeah, don't piss Daniel Dubois off.
Yeah.
This goes out to future opponents. I am 65 years old in December. To compare me to Ben, it's not fair to Ben. How old is Ben Davison?
Half that age.
Right. He could be my son.
What was your reaction? What was your thought process in the first 10 seconds when Daniel goes down?
Shock.
Yeah?
I froze. Time stood still. That man, Stan Dubois, where's the camera? The voice that got his son to stand up was his voice.
I want to take you to the slap. That's a fascinating piece of corner work.
It's not something I premeditated. It's not something I planned to do. It's an instinctive energy charge reaction.
We've got three people. We've got the corner, we've got the doctor, and we've got the referee. One of them should have stood up and been brave enough to stop.
Spence, without the rest, without recuperating, without fixing them injury, he needs a long time. He's going to need 3 months rest. I don't think we're going to see Fabio Wardley this side of the New Year.
No, I don't think
he's got to go and rest.
Obviously, Anthony Joshua fighting July the 25th. Tyson Fury's going to want another fight.
Yeah.
It could be Andy Ruiz Jr.
Look me in the eyes.
I'm looking at you in the eyes.
I will not blink.
Because I want you
Do
to
not blink. I 100% in my whole heart, I'm picking Dev Allen for a stoppage.
Welcome to episode 171 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan, Spencer Oliver and Paul Smith, sponsored by DAZN, the global home of boxing. We're joined today in the studio by the remarkable Don Charles, the trainer of Daniel Dubois. Nice to see you, Don.
Nice to see you too.
I have to say, I think some of the interviews that you did post the fight were absolutely first class. I think you came across brilliantly in all the interviews you've done. So it's not me blowing smoke up your backside. I just think you came across really, really well. And whilst we're here, I want you to know the environment that you're in. He picked Wardley. He picked Daniel.
Oh, right.
And I sat on the fence, right? So you know who you're amongst, right? Just so make sure when he starts cuddling up to you, right, you know where he's coming.
When your friend becomes your enemy.
Absolutely right.
I get it.
Yeah. It's an interesting turnabout for you, Dom, because the last time you were here, there was this feeling that you didn't put across, but we did it on your behalf. There was an element of scapegoating going on with you post the Usyk defeat with Daniel Dubois. You've gone full circle. You've been brought back into the camp, rightly so. I'm sure you think, but we think too on your behalf, in terms of being brought back in. Daniel has now won again in a brilliant performance. What was your overriding feeling when Howard Foster waves off the fight and you're sat in the corner looking at your charge that you've been responsible for, that you have a relationship with now that's been rekindled, and you're now back in the box seat, being given all of the respect that you should be given for re-energising Daniel to be a world champion? What was your first reaction when the fight gets waved off and you've done it again? Or you and Daniel have done it again?
Yeah, it's hard to describe it. You know, it's hard to describe it. I'm usually good with words, and it's hard to describe it. It's almost like a dream. And then you think, no, this is real. It's real time. It's happening. It's almost, you can speak to the two gentlemen. When you won your championship belts, I've never won one, only boxed as an amateur. That feeling when you got declared the winner.
The emotions override you, and I know the situation that you were in with Daniel, because there was a lot of pressure against you with it, because there was a lot of question marks still hanging over Daniel that people were still saying need to be proven going into it. I was with you in the whole build-up to this one, and you were saying, listen, you will see something from Daniel that we haven't seen in the past, and he delivered, you know. And I think that when you look at the past and you go on track records, you go like that, and Simon trying to throw me under the bus there, and I go, you're looking at Fabio Wardley and go, the momentum is with him. He has to start favourite.
Yeah.
Of course he does.
We have no problem with any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are facts,
but the emotions that come out after the victory are because it all worked out well. It all worked out right.
Yesterday, going back to what you asked me, Sam, I didn't actually answer you because there are no words to actually describe how I feel. That's why I was trying to get a bit of how you guys felt.
Sorry to interrupt, I always felt the first feeling, and it's not that you're not expected to win, it's always a bit of relief. We finally, that's what I've visualised, that's what I've planned, that's what I've put into play, and I finally done it.
That's probably more appropriate word. There's a big relief, because especially how the fight was going.
Yeah. Was there more pressure on you, Don? Because obviously you were, I know you were very vociferous after the first, when Daniel beat Anthony Joshua, you were quite
I was angry.
vociferous. You were angry with various people
angry
about the fact that people hadn't given you due respect, right? and then obviously what happens is he loses to Usyk, and then you're exited stage right. Then you're brought back in again, which I think was right and should never have happened in the first place. Was there more pressure on you? Did you feel more pressure? Because all of a sudden you've been brought back in
100%.
to create an outcome.
100%.
Yeah, that's what
because losing has never been an option. Certainly, I've been brought back. This great Don Charles has been brought back. Yeah. We have to deliver.
Yeah.
And because let's now reverse it, because I've been on both sides, on losing and winning. God forbid had we lost that fight on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm very strong, not necessarily physically. My mind, mentally very strong. I wouldn't be sitting here for. No, I would have come in to answer. I have to face the bullet, But yeah, it would have been a hard one to deal with.
But also, I mean, there's in the back of your mind, without speaking for you, there's one thing, with due respect, losing to Alexander Usyk, it might have been even more challenging. Listen, Fabio's a fabulous fighter and a fabulous man, right? But there is a difference between the perception and the reality of Fabio Wardley and Alexander Usyk that's been described as a generational great. Yeah. I mean, I think universally, Paul, most of us are looking at this fight going, wow. I mean, it's no surprise that it was a fight of substance, and we all thought that this was likely to be a brutal fight that ended with someone being beaten into submission, because I don't think either one of these fighters was going to be stopped, irrespective of what people like to create around Daniel from previous fights. Is it, in your view, one of the best fights you've ever seen?
Yeah, in person, yeah, definitely. I was lucky I was there. I was sitting literally 2 rows back, and I saw you on the night, obviously, and I don't want to sound big-headed saying this, I don't go to too many fights unless I really want to see them. I really wanted to see this. From the minute it was made, it had fireworks written all over it. Yep. It delivered and some. And from the very first exchange, big right hand over the top lands, down goes Dubois, and you think, oh, straight away, like it can't be over this quick, surely. And then he got up, rode the storm, won the second round and looked really well doing so. Then got caught again in the third, then won the fourth even probably better, as we were talking off air about before. And then apart from the knockdowns, I don't think he lost the round. And
no, he was in control.
It started to become relatively one-sided. Yeah. And then the writing was on the wall the other way, and the rest obviously I'm sure we'll get to. But atmosphere-wise, when the doctor came over in the 8th round, when they went to the doctor, and the doctor allowed it to go on, that roar, that cheer, which I'm sure you'll have heard.
But it was a strange atmosphere,
because they were allowed to fight on. It was unbelievable.
But it was a strange atmosphere because there was so much expectation. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to Josh Boazzi, I'm talking to Lawrence Chelli, I'm talking to Moses Atoma. Everyone's there, everyone's expecting this fight. The crowd are getting built up. And then when Daniel gets dropped in the first 10 seconds, it was almost a silence. Right? And then the momentum, obviously the atmosphere built and built and built. But I think the sheer brutality of times at the fight, I think sometimes sort of took the audience back a little bit.
Yeah, well, that can always happen. Sorry, Spence. Yeah, that can always happen. Because I think Daniel Dubois had a hell of a lot more in his locker on the night to show it, which he obviously inevitably did. And Fabio Wardley, had he gone early, would have been the same way. So I think that atmosphere changed when the first knockdown. It was a lot of shock as well.
Yeah, that's right.
It could happen. I also covered round 1 for both fighters, so 50-1 and 40-1, because that's heavyweight boxing.
Yeah,
it happens. You don't necessarily want it to happen that way, because we won a good fight. And ultimately, we got the good fight in the end, didn't we, Spence?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think the fight writing was on the wall. When Daniel went down with that first shot, you think, is history going to repeat itself here? And is it going to be a very quick fight? Because Fabio Wardley is ruthless. He's very heavy-handed. He landed a beautiful shot over the top. But how it turned out was that was probably the undoing of Fabio Wardley, because he went gun-ho with the right hand. He was looking for it again, landed it in the third. Daniel showed a lot of substance by getting up, getting through it. It started becoming a very brutal fight. Yeah. But Fabio couldn't adapt and couldn't adjust. He's looking for that big shot all the time. And the difference was that then Daniel adapted, he adjusted, and where Fabio was going over the top of the right hand, he becomes susceptible to the right hand through the middle. Yeah. Daniel found that, and the key shot of it all, obviously, was the jab that Daniel started landing with frequency. And it become in many ways, like you say, you're watching the fight, and we was wrapped up in it in the commentary as well, where Daniel was racking up, forget the 2 rounds where he went down, they were the only 2 rounds he lost. He was racking up the points. Then it started becoming very brutal,
Spence,
very brutal indeed.
Let's get into the analysis of the fight a little bit later. Before we do that, let's hear from Daniel's dad, Stan, who was talking to Jim White the other day.
There were some out there that doubted Daniel. What did you make of the narrative before the fight about Daniel lacking heart?
Well, they don't know Daniel, do they? And boxing is all about critics and stuff like that. So I don't really look into that too much. I just make sure that he's prepared right, and he will show the doubters and show them that they're wrong, really.
Was it disrespectful towards your boy, Stan?
Boxing carries a lot of disrespect, so you've got to be thick-skinned, really, haven't you? So I think Daniel's very thick-skinned. I don't think it bothers him too much, to be honest.
All sorts of talk that Fabio Wardley maybe could and should have been pulled out of the fight going into the latter stages of it. You know, again, now you look back in it...
Well, I wouldn't have allowed my boy to take such a beating like that. No way in the world. I would have got him out of there, you know? I would have insisted that they stopped it. I was looking at it and I'm thinking, why are they doing that? Why don't someone stop it? Because he can get permanent damage. At least give him a chance to come back and fight another day.
Listening to that, Don, I mean, talk to us about Daniel's mindset leading up to this fight. Obviously, there was some flack in the past about parties and gatherings, and it created some backstory and people observing on it, me included. And also, there's questions. There were questions reverberating, which I know you were very robust in pushing back on after the fight, saying no one ever dare question my fighter again. And I saw Daniel, and we did the Cauldron on DAZN on Friday evening, and Daniel, you know, he didn't want to be there. He wanted to. I'm ready to fight now.
He's ready to fight.
Ready to fight, and I kind of agree with that. And obviously, you know, speaking is not Daniel's strength. Punching in the ring is Daniel's strength, and that obviously part and parcel of promoting the fight is speaking these days. So it puts him sometimes in a disadvantage when you've got someone as perhaps verbose as Fabio Wardley. But the mindset of Daniel going into this fight, what was the approach? What was his focus? What was he thinking? How did you get him into a position where this fight was in his zone and what he needed to do?
Well, where do I start? I mean, it's the same way I worked with a sports psychology once, God rest his soul, Simon Edwards, and he told me, and I'll never forget it, he says, people go in the gym and push weights to train their muscles. He said the brain is also a muscle.
It needs to be trained, yeah.
Yeah. So I took that care, and I do with all my fighters, as well as we're doing all the usual routine.
Physical work, yeah.
Yeah. The brain is also we speak. I speak to Daniel a lot. We have sessions where phone sessions. I talk to him, and it's all about again getting the same frequency. When you're tuning with into somebody's frequency, yeah. The same way radio waves work.
Was he nervous leading into this fight?
Yeah, very nervous.
Because I mean, people were making it the last week build-up as if he were twitchy, walking out of a couple of press conferences or press interviews, and leading up into the Cauldron with me.
Yeah.
But I saw him. I didn't see him any different when he came in the studio against Alexander Usyk. He was uptight and ready to go. Usyk was a different personality. When Anthony Joshua tried to buoy him off in that face-off, he was the same personality. Was he more nervous in this set of circumstances because potentially there was an element of last chance?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. You got to remember this kid's coming off the back of a bad loss.
Yeah.
Bad knockout loss to Usyk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, normally, you get a tune-up to check everything.
Mm-hmm. To recenter yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
He took on. It was a collective decision when the fight was presented.
Of course.
We looked at it.
Yeah.
And we thought, yeah, we can do this, right? And yeah, it was very very nervous going into the arena.
Did Fabio expected, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's natural.
And that's fine.
That's natural.
That's fine.
Wrong with
I mean,
that.
was there a difference? I mean, when we saw, because I put the question to him, and you might think it was slightly unfair when I asked him on Friday, which is which Daniel Dubois are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that strode into Wembley and destroyed Anthony Joshua, or the one that some people didn't think turned up against Alexander Usyk?
Yeah.
But when we saw Daniel go in against Anthony Joshua, there was this absolute resolute look about him. When he walked in against Usyk, it was different. When I saw him walking on Saturday, I turned to who I was with and I said, he's ready to go.
He's up for it. Can I just go back a little bit? You know that, what is it called? The
stuff that we did on Friday?
Yeah.
The Cauldron. Yeah.
Cauldron, right. As a coach, purely speaking from a coach's perspective, it could be you, could be whoever is presenting it. For me personally, I wouldn't want my fighter doing that. It's too late in the day, especially someone like Daniel.
Yeah.
He's not a talker.
I agree.
He's ready to fight.
I agree.
Okay? I think I think it's a good idea, but I think it should be done well before.
Yeah.
Yeah, not less than 24 hours before the fight.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but the broadcaster wants to get as much revenue.
I totally understand.
They want to sell the fight for you guys.
The broadcaster doesn't get in the ring to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought I think it's a very good idea, but the timing of whereabouts in the promotion of the fight should
I hear you, but put that aside. Listen, that's in irrelevance. We're talking about his preparation and the nervousness building up to the fight and his approach to it, because in the end of the day, he's not fighting a broadcaster, he's fighting Fabio Wardley.
Correct.
Was Fabio's sort of absolute assuredness, because, I mean, people present an image, right? But Fabio was very calm and very collected, and we'll talk about the fight in its detail in a second. Did that in any way enhance the nervousness that Daniel may have had?
Yeah,
because Fabio seems so confident.
From my observation,
yeah.
Again, remember, we're going to war here. So
Yep.
the coach, I've got my war head on.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fabio came across in that cauldron as somebody who's trying to convince themselves
you thought
of the
that,
task. 100 minutes. I read psychology.
So it worked against him.
He spoke too much.
Yeah, it worked against him then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the worst thing you could do to Daniel, and every person he's beat have always belittled him. You're a baby. You're going to quit.
Yeah, good
he
point.
signed his, I once said, the death warrants.
Yeah.
He signed his warrant.
Yeah, his exit visa.
Don't piss Daniel Dubois off.
Yeah. Good point.
Don't piss him off.
Good point.
This goes out to future opponents. Don't piss him off.
All right.
In fact,
go ahead, piss him off. Yeah. We spoke a lot about Daniel's jab last week when we were talking with Duke McKenzie. When you analysed the fight, is that where the fight was won and lost, Spencer, in your mind?
I don't think it was where the fight was won and lost. I think that, Daniel, that was a big part of his preparation. It was a big part. It was a key factor in the victory, but it wasn't the be-all and end-all, because this become a brutal fight. We saw Don Charles there, that famous slap, and that's what Daniel needed, don't feel sorry for yourself, get out there. And sometimes you've got to know your fighter inside out to know when to give them a cuddle and when to give them a kick up the arse, a slap round the face. Daniel needed that at that point. He found the range with a jab. But like I say, Daniel was the guy that adapted through the fight. He was the guy that had been on the floor twice and recognised it, adapted, started creating the space, working well off the jab and pinging the right hand through the middle. Because Fabio done the same thing from the first round. That first knockdown was probably the undoing of him because he kept trying to throw the same shot for round after round, and he'd become susceptible, like I say, to that right hand through the middle, because when he's going round and Daniel was pinging it through the middle, he was getting nailed. And he was doing everything off the jab. It was a very calculated performance in a fight that would become very, very brutal, and both guys had to stay disciplined. But, when you look at it, you go, Daniel showed us something that we hadn't seen in the past from him, and I found that very, very impressive. He's matured and grown as a fighter down to this man.
Yep.
And I know because Don Charles said to me when they first started working together, this is not about the physical aspect here, Spence. He's got that in leaps and drones.
It's between the ears.
This is about this, and Don's great at doing that, and you could see how he's developed. Remember the pressures Daniel's got going into this one as well when you're talking about, coming off that loss to Alexander Usyk. When you're coming off a knockout loss and you're going into a world title fight and you flip it over to the other side and you look at Fabio Wardley coming off that victory over Joseph Parker, becoming world champion, elevated to another level. That's why I said, when you look at it, you go, this is a fight that's a 50-50, can be won and lost either way. Momentum is with Wardley, and that's why he has to start the favourite.
We know you know you're caveating the reasons why you picked him.
No, listen,
right?
But what I'm saying is, I'm talking from the fighter's mentality. For Daniel to overcome them demons and go in there and deliver a performance like that takes some applauding.
Absolutely. I mean, also we've discussed the way that, without wanting to be overly clever, and it's not our gift to be so, the way that Daniel processes things is probably different to maybe other fighters and how they process defeats. When we look at Fabio's performance, Paul, I mean, I don't think we should take anything away from the resilience and the bravery he showed in the ring, and also the fact he was a class act afterwards, in the fact he was magnanimous and he did the right, and he celebrated Daniel in the same way that Daniel celebrated him and thanked him for the opportunity. But are you slightly curious or disappointed about the way the tactics that Fabio deployed in this fight? Was it, in fact, a disadvantage to have dropped Daniel within the first 10 seconds because all he seemed to want to do after that was throw the right hand, believing that was his money shot?
Possibly, yeah. I'll get to that straight away. I want to add one thing to what Spencer said, because I agree with everything what you just said. What I was really impressed with Daniel, and why I backed him, is the footwork and the fundamentals. And he has that from when he's been a young kid, started boxing. And that's the debate between whether you can go in like Wardley at a white collar level and still make it, or you have to do it the old traditional route. With Wardley, it's difficult to say this without sounding like I'm steaming in on the team, on Ben Davison and the team he has around him, but he has a big team around him. The tactics were, from the knockdown, pretty much non-existent, and he did the same thing, throwing the same combination over and over for the rest of the fight. Daniel's footwork was nullifying a lot of what Fabio was trying, jab, right hook, and it was just falling short every time. Apart from the 2 rounds where he had the knockdowns, he didn't win another round. And that's when it starts to become uncomfortable viewing later on in the fight, when it's a relative one side beating all the way through it. And that's why the issues are going to be there. I get it, he's a banger. I get it, we've seen it with Justice Hooney and other fights he's had. He can pull it out the bag. But he's also a young-ish man who can live to fight another day, like Daniel Dubois' dad was saying before, and I thought he spoke really well as well. Yep. Daniel was not going to be denied. The heart and desire that he showed after being knocked down as well added to the rest of it, the pressure and everything else. I've got nothing but praise for him, and I have been one of the most critical of Daniel in the past based on what I've seen in them 3 fights that didn't go his way. Yeah. Saturday night was unbelievable. They still happen, but that really put him on another level, and for me, he's got my utmost respect, and I was delighted that he won and the way that he did it, and both of them in defeat and in victory took it really well. I think with Wardley, there's got to be questions asked about the tactics. There's got to be questions asked, because it's not like he's been dropped himself, so then the tactics go out the window because he's concussed or he's not all there. He was on top, but it was the same thing every time, expecting different results. And once that 2nd round was lost, and then the 4th round didn't go your way, after 2 previous rounds where you put him down, there's got to be a little word in the corner there. Look, you know, you need to change things up, or you need to do more of this or more of that. I felt Daniel, one little small criticism where I felt he could have made it a little bit easy for himself. He was smothering his work a lot on the ropes. And I was like shouting at, like, just give yourself that little bit of distance. But if you've been dropped twice of someone, you probably want to get as close as you can to them so you're safe. So, again, all's forgiven for that. But tactically, Dubois won. Tactically, technically, physically, I think he did the better job out of the 2. And I think Wardley will look at that and kick himself a little bit. I think tactically he could have got it right, and the team probably could have got it right. But I don't want to just steam into Ben Davidson.
No.
If I'm kicking him
I mean, Ben's got an opportunity
to
to talk for himself, and he's just chosen not to do that, which I think is silly, because you let other people fill the vacuum. You know how that works. If someone doesn't talk for themselves, then other people will fill it for you. Before we go back to the fighters, Don, I just want to talk to you about this dynamic between you and Ben Davison in terms of the fighters. Twice now you've got the better of him in terms of, with Daniel against, obviously, Anthony Joshua, and Daniel now against Fabio Wardley. You, in the press conference, or the last press conference, told Michael Offo, pleaded with him to have Fabio Wardley come and meet Daniel head on. Have you got, tactically, Ben Davidson's number?
It's not a question of that. Tactically, this is not me being braggadocious. I am 65 years old in December. How old is Ben Davison?
Half that age.
Right. He could be my son. I've got a 33-year-old son. Right. I didn't get here today or yesterday. I've had my losses. My first championship fight, world title challenge as a coach was against Vitaly Klitschko.
Indeed.
In fact, it was 2 years prior to that, 2010. It was supposed to be his junior brother, Vladimir, who aborted mission 3 days before the fight in Germany, Mannheim in Germany. Then 2 years later, his big brother stepped in to save the family's face. And I was told by all the experts that he's going to knock Chisora out in 2 rounds.
Yep.
Derek gave him, Vitaly, probably his hardest fight since Lennox Lewis.
Starting with a slap in the press conference.
Correct. Ooh, now you're sussing the slap, where the slap's coming from.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say, I've had my losses, man. Yeah. 4 world title challenges, I lost all of them. With one guy, Derek Chisora, who I'm so proud of. Yeah? So the question is asked me, so to compare me to Ben, it's not fair to Ben.
Okay.
Unless Ben starts to acknowledge himself. Acceptance is a way of cure. Recognize where you are. He's done so well, Ben, to date. Look at the fighters he's worked with. Billy Joe Saunders, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Fabio Wardley, currently Moses Ituma. Yeah? So I never had that privilege. I'm not knocking him. It's not his fault they're giving these fighters. I came up the hard route. I won with various fighters, which I'm very proud of, British level fighters who won the Southern area, English title, Commonwealth, European. Then before, a lot of them didn't chat except for Frank Buglioni, who came to me after he had already fought against Igor. Frank Buglioni fought for a world title against the Russian.
Yeah.
Okay. He lost. He came to me after that. Then
One George Groves beat, wasn't it?
correct.
That's right.
Yeah. We went on. Shagayev.
Was it
Yeah.
Shagayev?
No, it's not Shagayev. No. Chudov, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
So he's had, to some extent, he's had the luxury of working with some wonderful materials that you wished you could have had at times.
So let's now fast forward Ben in 10 years' time, with the experience he would have gotten from his shortcomings, as a coach, he would have developed. It takes time.
So is the sort of underlying observation is that he if he continues to develop the way he is, he's got the potential to be where you are right now?
100%.
Right.
And he's a good astute student of the sport, Ben. Listen to the way he breaks down fights with the Lee Wiley, is it?
Yeah.
They are the future, these people.
Yeah.
I'm the generation. I came off the back of learning from watching people like I said, Sir Jimmy Tibbs.
Yeah.
He should be knighted, that man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I've watched all the American previous all those coaches that as I was coming through. Yeah.
Freddie Roach.
And also, I'm most Freddie Roach. No disrespect to Freddie Roach. No.
No. Okay.
No. Not in my books anyway.
Coach told Freddie Roach, though, didn't he, as well?
Right.
So you go to the fountain.
So what I'm trying to say, I studied all these coaches, how they did things to equip myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ben Davison
has to do the same thing.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll recognise that. Let me take you to a slightly less happier moment than the moment we've got now, which is, what was your reaction? What was your thought process in the first 10 seconds when Daniel goes down? What's going through your mind?
Shock.
Yeah.
I froze momentarily. Time stood still. That was not a part of the plan. Yeah? That was not a part of the plan. And luckily for the soldier, warrior, Daniel, yeah? Imagine what the magnitude of the pressure this kid is carrying.
Did you have confidence at that point when he hit the floor? Because this is really interesting, because like you say, when you're talking about history and whether Daniel's going to get up, and if he goes down a game, which he did go down a game, you think now, does he lose a little bit of heart, a little bit of soul? What was your initial thought when he'd gone down?
I told you.
Shock.
Shock.
Yeah, but did you have confidence that he was going to get up?
No, hell no. It was
any heavyweight, any heavyweight gets hit like that so early, you'd expect automatically the one who's scored the knockdown to jump on him, and Wardley didn't, and I think that was
right. You asked me, did I? No, I'd be lying if I said, he's be all right. I'm not the one who took the... And you know that kind of shot is on the temple. Yeah. It scrambles your brain momentarily. Yeah. Right?
When you unpack it, how do you think that happened? Why do you think it happened?
Because the part of that game plan, the main part of our game plan, because we knew how dangerous Fabio Wardley is an athletic fighter, yeah? The distance control was so important for this campaign. Yeah. And I used the word discipline, that was the code word for the campaign. Keep your defensive discipline, keep your distance control discipline, okay? And be present, Yeah. So as soon as the bell rang, Fabio came, and it thought, this is brilliant, he's there.
Yeah.
Bam. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I said, I was in shock. The team, the corner, it's like, that's not supposed... So obviously, momentarily, time froze. Yeah. Then I have to quickly...
Re-engage,
yeah. The instructions was, if you find yourself down, we have to learn from our previous mistakes.
Yeah.
Look for the corner.
Right.
Look for the corner, and do you know what? I was so happy.
But for you, right?
He did this several times in the fight, looking for the corner.
But for you,
not for the corner.
Okay.
Yeah? And I'm going to come to something in a minute, yeah?
Okay.
So as soon as he went down, guess what he did? He looked to the corner. So for you to look to the corner,
you know he's together.
You know where you still know where you are. Yeah. And then, this is why all those people who knock... I'm not stupid, I'm a very wise man, right? I've been persecuted. What you got the father in the corner for, right? If that was me, I wouldn't... That man, Stan Dubois, where's the camera? Irrespective of how good I am as a coach experience, I needed him in that corner. If I ever needed that man, the voice that got his son to stand up was his voice. Why? Because that's the voice that Daniel Dubois recognizes, not mine.
Yeah.
When it comes to giving instructions, it's my voice. When at those moments, boy, did I need him in that corner.
The crisis moment.
Yeah. Yes.
Talk to me about, obviously your corner work is going to get praised, and we are praising you now, and we praised you previously, but hang on, I haven't finished the question. Right. I want to take you to the slap, because we talk about how important the communication is between him and his father at certain times. But everyone is looking at that moment where you slapped him in the corner and going, that's a fascinating piece of corner work. Talk to me about what the motivation and thinking behind that was.
It's not something I premeditated. It's not something I planned to do. It's an instinctive energy charged reaction.
It's a hell of a thing to do, isn't it?
I'll tell you what drove me to do that, because it was at the beginning of round 4.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I think it was beginning of round 4 or 5. Anyway, so he's come back, and I've realised that Fabio is unleashing bombs and not connecting.
Right.
Do you know how sapping that is? It's harder. You waste more energy by missing than actually making contact. Yeah. So I'm thinking, brilliant, brilliant. I said to my colleague in the corner with me, Tony Pill, I said, Tone, he's swinging, he's missing. Brilliant. I was hoping he will carry on doing that. Because by now, Daniel has gone back to because Daniel's got a brilliant amateur pedigree.
Yep.
The footwork of an amateur was the technique was part of the game plan. Use your amateur footwork, because we know Fabio will struggle. You can't punch what's not there, basically.
Of course.
Go like a pendulum, in, out, like a pendulum.
Yeah.
And that's what we started.
But that's what Josh Boax was saying next to me. He's saying to me, Daniel's starting to time his right hand now and seeing it. And when Fabio's... Exactly.
Just a little push out of the range.
When did you or others start thinking, Spence, that this fight needs to be brought to an end? I mean, I spoke to Carl Foch. Carl Foch on the way back from Manchester, and he said, I think after the 7th round, I was looking at it going, I think we're getting to the point now where there's very little chance of Fabio winning this fight. When did others start to think that there's a point that this fight maybe needs to be brought to a conclusion?
That's funny, Carl Foch says at the end of the 7th round, when you look at his fight against Jermaine Taylor, you go, like, you could have pulled him out well before that. What I'm saying is that he gritted his teeth and he come through it, like Daniel did in this fight. So, you know, when you're looking at comparisons, you just go, I was looking at it going, at the end of round 9 was the point where I went, right, the corner needs to pull him out now. Yeah. He went staggering back to the corner. I spoke to Ben Davison about this. He said that he'd missed that part. He said, I've gone down to get the towel when the bell rang for the beginning of round 10. He said, the bell rang and he's come stumbling out the corner again. I went, this fight has to be stopped right now. Like, that was the latest that you could have done it, right? But let me just say this, Paul, right? So he gets then taken over to the doctor. The doctor doesn't stop the fight, and you think, wow, like, is the corner, like, who's looking for it? The referee hasn't stopped it, the doctor hasn't stopped it, the corner should have stopped it. Ben Davison said he went down to get the towel. His chief second obviously hadn't seen it. He didn't see the stumble. He said, otherwise, I would have probably pulled him out. Yeah. He said, but he missed that one. But you got to the point of where it was so heroic. It was like, if it was like, let's say, a Rocky VI movie, you're going, this is a bit far-fetched. Yep. It started to become like that, but you're starting to worry about him because we know what Fabio is, that character. You go, that he can grit it out, he can grind it out, but you go, it started becoming like what cost there.
Were you disappointed with the doctors, Paul? I mean, I watched from the ringside, and I'm sitting there, and I'm going, this doctor appears to be putting his blue-covered gloves inside Fabio Wardley's nose, where there's a hole there, and I can see the bone.
Yeah.
And that, to me, doesn't look...
We've said that on here a few times, haven't we? I think any fight that Wardley's in, he's at a disadvantage for facial injuries, and that will never be with a clash of heads. That's always going to be a punch. It was extreme, but to defend the doctors, and again, it's always going to look like I'm blasting into Ben Davison and the team here. You're saying Ben Davison missed that. Mm-hmm. But Lee Wiley stands and staring at the action all the time. So if you're a team, you've got to have a word. I had a word with our Liam. I'm sitting, me, Liam and Callum in a row, and I had a word with our Liam. I said, these are going to have to start looking at me and pulling them out. And our Liam went, Paul, world champion. Yeah. Had him down twice. If you pull me out, I'm going to be fuming. And I'm thinking, yeah, I agree that. But if I pull you out, it's for your own good because this isn't comfortable at the moment. Then 8, 9, no. At the start of the 10th round, that's enough for me. That's done. But you still let him out for the 11th. When the referee did the job. I think Howard Foster did a really good job on the night. And he gave the doctors the opportunity both times to help him out a little bit. But in the doctor's defence, the eye, he kept saying, how many fingers? 2, 3, 1, 4. And he got it right every time. So the eye was OK, you could still see through it. And the nose, as a cut, it probably wasn't as bad enough to stop it. But the corners there, paramount.
Because I know that Fabio, Fabio texted Jim. And said, you know, that he doesn't, you know, he's absolutely 100% behind his corner, which I like to see that kind of loyalty. That's how it should be, because they'll be loyal to him. But there is a balance, isn't there, between not the aesthetic damages being done in the ring at that moment in time, it's what happens afterwards and what you're left with, and what you're leaving your fighter to be able to do in the future.
I think that's the argument, Simon. I think when you look at it was the accumulation of punches, the volume of punches. You go, when he's taking them over to the doctor, and the doctor's looking at the cut, I'm not saying, well, is the cut bad enough to stop the fight? It's about the punishment he's been taking. The doctor's got to look at him. All right, he's responding to 1, 2, or whatever. That's not the point here. Absolutely, at some point,
isn't the doctor's job to look at the aesthetics of it and say, is he coherent? Can he still maintain the focus? It's the corner's job to say, my fighter is in jeopardy for his future career.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. But if the corner's not going to do it, when the doctor was called to the ring and he was taken to the doctor, the guy was like he was walking on stilts.
But the problem for the doctor is, right, I mean, we'll kill this subject in a minute metaphorically. The doctor, when he waved him on first time, is getting a cheer from the auditorium. He's got 19,000 fans cheering. So the doctor's all of a sudden, he's in the crosshairs going, what do I do with this?
But we've got three people.
The referee didn't either.
We've got 3 people. We've got the corner, we've got the doctor, and we've got the referee. One of them should have stood up and been brave enough to stop.
Spence is a coach sitting in the middle of us. I train fighters. Whose job is it?
Yeah.
Your job as a trainer is to protect your fighter and let your fighter live to fight another day, as Daniel Dubois' dad said before. Now, I saw that as that was uncomfortable viewing for me, and that was a case. And now this is a completely different conversation. If he was winning rounds, it's a completely different conversation if that right hook that he was throwing was landing and was still having an effect, but it was having no effect and it wasn't really landing. Then Dubois had his number with the feet, so therefore you're just keeping him in with the hope and the luck that he might survive the distance or land one good shot.
Absolutely. And the fact of the matter is, one thing taking punches from Justice Hoon, it's another thing taking punches from Daniel Dubois. Do we, very quickly before we move on to what's next for the two fighters, and specifically given there's a rematch clause, we'll ask about that, Don, but do we look at this as Daniel's best performance?
For me personally, since I've been working with him, most definitely, because what he had to go through to get his victory.
Even though he was walking into Wembley Stadium with 96,000 people cheering for Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, I didn't think anything could surpass that, Simon.
Right,
That's
this
for me,
Do we agree?
Listen, I also think that, you have to take into account what he was coming off the back of.
Correct.
And that was a KO loss.
Yeah.
You go, that is the psychological side, the mental damage that he's got to overcome as well. That was a career best performance.
Add to that, down within 15 seconds.
Right.
Oh, come on,
down again in the third round. To come through all that, as I said, I've been one of the biggest critics of him in the past. Based on what I've seen, that's it.
Absolutely.
It's never been anything personal. I am one of his biggest supporters after that on Saturday night. I think he did
well said. Before we move on, it's your show. I want to plead with the general public. Get off the back of this young man. Get behind him. He's British and he's representing our country. Get off his back.
Don, I don't think the British public are on his back. I think that you have to ask questions every now and again. And there is a danger in this sport. And I understand it's a sport that I love and adore, but don't know anywhere as much as you three guys do. But observations and criticism are not people being on someone's back. When it becomes an agenda, when people start to... And I said the other day, this idea that Daniel Dubois quit, no one turned around and said to Zudo Ramirez when he took the knee twice against David Benavidez that he's a quitter. So perhaps people should stop pulling at that a little bit because I was at the Joe Joyce fight. I do have questions about certain things, but they were answered in this fight now. So Daniel Dubois, I hope, becomes the fighter that Jeff Powell wrote about 5 years ago, saying taking over the heavyweight division.
I think we need to appreciate and enjoy Daniel Dubois now. That's what I think Don's trying to... the point he's trying to get across.
There's a reason why people... like myself before this, was saying that. Still not questions answered yet. I've seen Adam Cattle, and I'm not digging Adam, I like Adam, I've got a lot of time for Adam. Adam Cattle and Nick on the Fight Disciples, this washes away any narrative of quit. It's happened in the past, that's okay, but it doesn't wash it away. It still happened, that's why we formed the opinion we formed. But that corrected a lot of wrongs in the future of Daniel Dubois. And the future Daniel Dubois I'm watching is that, and if that's what I'm seeing every time, I'll buy a ticket to watch him every single time.
Let's move it on to what potentially could be next. Frank Warren advised everybody there's a rematch clause. How would you feel, Don, if the rematch clause was... Because obviously it's Fabio's to activate, because he was a champion at the time. How would you feel about that rematch being activated?
Well, it's really not our call, but should it materialise where they feel they're going to activate it?
Not for them. How would you feel about Daniel fighting him again?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Because the mistakes we made this time, we're going to, from round one, rectify that mistake.
But it wasn't an easy night's work, though, was it?
God,
just to pull you up on what you said a few months ago.
Yeah, no, that was kidding. Kidiology.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, kidiology. I remember it. Yeah, I remember it. I said easy work. And I wasn't working with Daniel at the time, right? That's the man I am. But that's just kidiology, yeah.
Can I play devil's advocate on that, though?
Yeah.
Had the knockdowns not have happened, he won every single round.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know it's iffy.
I mean, I had it 96,
those.
92 because there were 2 10-8s, weren't there?
Correct.
That's what I had it, yeah.
Every other round.
Do we like the idea of a rematch? I mean, my personal view on this, and I'm a huge admirer of both fighters.
Yeah.
You know, I like Fabio for his personality, I like Daniel for his integrity and honesty, and I like Don Charles, full stop, right? I think it gets worse for Fabio in the second fight.
Well, it's an interesting
That's
one,
my
isn't
view.
it? Because if you look at Fabio Wardley in the history when he boxed Fraser Clark and he had that life and death situation in that first fight and what happened in the second fight, what I'm saying is he's a former world champion. There was a rematch clause in there. If I'm Fabio Wardley in the team, do I activate that when I'm looking at the landscape of where I go? Of course I do, because it gives me an opportunity, and he's done it before. And so I would say, and as a fight...
Would you want him in on that? There was an opportunity...
As a fight fan, I've just witnessed a fight that will go down in heavyweight history.
Yep.
And that is a fact. Yep. You know, when we're talking about great fights of the past, with, your Ron Lyle and Larry Holmes and all those guys, when you look at that, this falls into that category. Were we entertained? Of course we were. Would I want to see it again? Of course. That's from a selfish point of view.
Yeah, you got to allow me to get this on my chest.
Me
and Paul, we spoke about it in the reception before coming into the live room. The fight I will compare, the nearest fight I've watched that I can compare it to Fabio Wardley and my guy, Daniel. In 1976, George Foreman and Ron Lyle.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the nearest fight.
Yeah.
And we're going back to 1976.
Yeah.
That's the nearest heavyweight fight.
George Foreman rebuilding himself.
Yeah.
Lennox Lewis and Ray Mercer was another brutal
one
fight that doesn't get talked about a lot.
Have you got, I mean, we've discussed this. Have you got another?
Bow in the 90s, we get them type
But boys,
of fights.
we're talking about it at that sort of level. That's what we're talking about here. So why would you not want to see that again? It's
I'll answer that for you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see Fabio Wardley in the ring for at least October, November, December time.
He's
got to go and rest.
He's
got a bad injury.
When you
it won't happen again next.
I did the YouTube video last night explaining it because I don't want to sound like I'm being negative. There's not many negatives at all you can find from that fight. And I don't want to find them.
No, there isn't any.
I don't want to find them.
There was no losers that night, Simon.
But if he tries to jump straight back in without the rest, without recuperating, without fixing them injuries, he needs a long time. He's going to need 3 months rest. Then he'll need a 4-month camp probably, and that'll take us to January, December. So I don't think we're going to see Fabio Wardley this side of the New Year.
No, I don't think. I think Don's absolutely right.
He's got that in between that. Of course, that Daniel's going to go on and do what he's going to do, and that may never materialise. But what I'm saying is, you know, in a fantasy world, I go, would you want to see that fight again?
Hell yeah,
absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Interestingly, of course, inevitably, one of the opponents that's been potentially talked about for Daniel is Moses Atoma. Let's listen to Frank Warren speak to that.
Does Moses Atoma enter the conversation anytime soon, Frank?
Moses Atoma is boxing on the 8th of August. We're announcing his opponent next Tuesday, and that's where we are. And it certainly won't be against Daniel Dubois. He'll be taking time out now after his fight.
Yeah. But at some stage along the line, are the two destined to meet?
Of course they are. I mean, of course they are. These again, it'd be another great domestic fight. No one's trying to keep anyone apart here. We're making these fights happen. We are making these fights happen all the time. And Moses is #1 now in 3 organisations. So he's gonna fight for the world title this year. There's no doubt about that.
Not sure about that. Is it the right fight for either one of these fighters? Dubois versus Atoma next?
It's a good fight, but I think Daniel's
fight,
earned the rest. And I think, as I said, you know, listen, I'm always one banging on about the safety of fighters, and let him rest after that. That's a lot. There's been a big, tough camp, tough mental battle, and it was an absolute battle on the night. But I like the idea of that fight. I think if you're sitting there as Frank Warren, it's win-win either way because you've got them both. You look after them both. But I think Daniel's earned the right to go and defend this against someone else and have a
I think he runs the two
between.
fighters away from one another for a moment in time, because I think there's more commercial opportunities for both fighters to be run separately. But if that fight were made, you were very confident. I know when you weren't Daniel's trainer a few months ago, and I know I like to use that clip against you sometimes.
Go ahead,
but you were very confident about the ability to deal with Fabio. You weren't so forthcoming about Daniel against Moses Atoma. How do you view it now?
How I view it is that Moses is too yet to develop. He's a developing young. He's the future. Yeah? Frank Warren, we trust. He knows what, like you quite rightly said, I think is that he's going to keep them apart. Let them fight for a unification. If Moses goes away, which I believe he will go to become a world champion.
Do it in a couple of years' time.
18 months. What's it? They're both signed to Frank. Yeah. So track them. Provided we're successful and keep defending our title and perhaps pick up another title, and Moses goes and picks up a title, then you bring them together. It's inevitable.
Daniel's still a young lad, and he's
talking about guys that were two young lads. That's what you say. Daniel is 28 years of age. People forget that because of what he's achieved in the sport so far. That is a huge fight that should be built. You know, when you're talking about now, Daniel's earned that right. You go, let him go and have an easy first defence against a stellar name, a Deontay Wilder type person where you go in there, and he deserves that.
But you know how it works. People are going to call for it, and it doesn't mean that necessarily should happen, right? We're going to discuss it because that's what the media industry does. Any merit, Paul, in Daniel fighting someone like Wilder, my friend Deontay?
Definitely. Why not? I think, listen, after what we've seen with Chisora, it's clear to see, without being disrespectful to Wilder, that he's there for the taking. But we knew that beforehand. It was a farewell fight. It was the only fight that I was OK with either of those fellas. And I love Derek fighting against being each other, because I wouldn't have wanted to see Derek in with someone like Talman. I definitely wouldn't like to see someone like Wilder being federal to him. But that's what it would be with Dubois. Yeah, you definitely would. But, you know, we'll make sure you've got security next time. You'll have to be in the same room as him, Simon. We'll look after you. It's a fight that would be relatively straightforward for Dubois should he
I got your back.
Thanks, Don. All right. Before we move on to the undercard, Tyson Fury has been on socials giving his view. Have a listen to this, if you must.
Hey guys, Tyson Fury here. I got some unbelievable, exciting news coming. Stay tuned about being in the ring. Get up! Watch your space. GK all day. Get up!
Any idea what he's talking about, Spence?
Tyson Fury always becomes relevant when there's big fights going on or big news around fights going on.
It's not about me.
Yeah, Daniel Dubois, he's thrown his name in the hat. There's big news coming. Is he going to be boxing anytime soon? I'm hearing Andy Ruiz Jr. was a name that was mentioned, that is a possible fight that Tyson Fury could be having next.
All right.
Interesting. We'll see.
The two body beautifuls.
We'll see. You know, we want the I think where they're sat right now, AJ Fury, that should be the fight happening next. But so obviously Anthony Joshua fighting July the 25th. Tyson Fury's going to want another fight.
Yeah.
It could be Andy Ruiz Jr. That's what I'll say.
On Saturday night, I was really, not pleasantly surprised, but really enamoured with the stadium. I thought that the Co-op Arena was a fabulous stadium, well set up. The 19,500 fans, great setup. But it was also a great undercard. And one of the standout fights was obviously Zach Chelli beating David Morrell, Spence. Talk us through that performance, because no one saw that coming, at least of all Callum, who sat next to me.
Listen, Zach Chelli was a late replacement. It was about opportunity, and he took that opportunity, man. David Morrell, people must understand, he's not a former two-time world champion, two-weight world champion. This guy's an elite fighter, a pound-for-pound star. Zach Chelli has only ever been proven, and sometimes fallen short, the loss against Callum Simpson at British and Commonwealth sort of level. I thought it was only a matter of time before Zach Chelli, this game is about levels, was going to get taken apart. And boy, did he tear up the script. He was losing round after round after round, but he stuck at it. A guy that's not known for his punch power, landed a big right hand, and he seized that opportunity.
Absolutely.
And that will go down for me in a British boxing ring as one of the biggest upsets to happen on these shores.
Yeah. Well, I was sat next to you, Liam and Callum. I looked left as Morrell was getting bashed up at you. Where does that leave the opportunity for Callum? Because that was the fight that was ultimately put into place for Callum. Obviously, the broken rib took him out from it. Morrell was very credible in his performance against Benavidez. So how disappointing is that particular circumstance for Callum, or does it present another opportunity? And what does that opportunity look like?
I think if you look left, you'd see me clapping, shouting, "Go on, lads." I was cheering Chelli on. But look, the thing with the WBO is Callum is mandatory for Bivol. He is interim champion after beating Buatsi, so he's next in line to fight for the WBO belt. Why should an interim belt have a mandatory challenger on it in Morrell? So it removes a fight that would have been a good fight, and we've always felt that Callum would have knocked him out, and as was proven with Chelli, the chin probably isn't the best. It would have been a probably good fight, but then Callum is waiting for Bivol and the WBO to clear this situation up. Either Bivol has to defend that belt or vacate that belt. Either way, Callum gets what he wants. He's two-weight world champion, or he gets the opportunity to fight Bivol, who's a great fighter, by the way. But Zach Chelli did great and capitalised on his opportunity, grabbed it with both hands, pardon the pun, and literally is now in a great position. He's going to get a world ranking with the WBO. He's just beat a top fighter in David Morrell, probably earned really good money, probably the best in his career, and puts him back on track for what he wants to do.
Is there a logical fight here potentially of your Eddie Hearn? Obviously you wouldn't be because you're 2'2" and he's 7 foot. But if you were Eddie Hearn, would you look to put him in?
This guy, man,
I know it's terrible.
Me,
would you look to put him in against? Given you talked about matchmaking for Ben Whittaker, is there a fit there for Zach Chelli going against Ben Whittaker?
Absolutely, why not? You know, I think Zach Chelli's put himself in a position now. He's going to be a world-ranked fighter. There's going to be an opportunity for him. If one of the world champions is looking there, he might say, you know what, I fancy that. You know, when we're talking about first defences, or if we're talking about a defence where you're looking to tick over, Zach Chelli has now earned that right. You know, there's other fighters, other big names. You've got your Anthony Yards, your Joshua Buatsis. There's big domestic fights as well for happening for
Sorry
him.
to interrupt you, Spence. If you'd have matched Callum Smith with Zach Chelli before that fight, everyone would be like, why is that a mismatch? But if he now goes and gets a top 10 ranking and Callum's belt becomes the full belt and that's a first defence, then it's now viable and it's now, well, it's a possibility. So it's sort of, you know, it balances itself out. If he gets the ranking, it's well-deserved on what he's done, but all of the champions would be looking at that.
Listen, when we was presented with this fight card and you looked at that fight and you looked at Zach Chelli versus David Morrell, I thought that's brutal. They've slung him to the lions. That's a fight that is like that's the easiest fight on the card to pick who wins, who loses, and how they lose. Zach Chelli by KO, and it could be quite early. He went up there and tore the script. I mean, that was the most impressive performance of the night.
I love the underdog.
It was a really good show.
Well, chief support on the night was Jack Rafferty versus Eko Usman. Another performance, Paul, from Jack Rafferty. What do you take away from that?
I really rate him. I know him and I like him. I know the team. We go up to the gym doing bits of sparring. Steve Mailer's got a really good stable up there with the lads. They're super fit, all of them. You can see how Jack fights, especially. His brother Tom's similar. A lot of the lads in the gym are boxing in a similar style, where it's a relentless pressure but clever, educated. They're not by any means just come forward fighters. They can box as well, but the gym's buzzing. It's got a great atmosphere in there. They've got good fighters all around there at all different weights. But I was delighted for Jack. He's one of the nicest fellas.
It's a backstory to Jack, isn't it?
The story's been unbelievable, Spencer.
Listen, after the fight where he drew Mark Chamberlain, his father come up to me actually at the press conference, said to me, "You don't know what Jack's actually been through. We've moved up at this new weight now. Down at super lightweight was always a struggle. His bowel had burst. His bowel had burst. This kid was given 48 hours to live on my life after his last fight. And if you look at the story and how he overcome that, moved up to featherweight box, Eko Usman, all right, he was coming off the Jack Catterall loss.
His mum a few years ago as well.
Before that, this kid was still very much elite level. For your first fighter there, and the way that he went in there, glided in and out of range, and it was punch perfect. Again, that was an incredible performance. But what he overcome before that was even more impressive. Remarkable.
Good luck to him. I think we should probably just also mention Brad Rhea and his performance against Liam Cameron. It's probably the last time we'll see Liam in the ring. Do you think?
I think it was a passing of the guard, wasn't it? I think that Brad Rhea was coming off the loss to Lyndon Arthur, split decision, great fight, but probably character building for him and would kick him on. And I think that's what we saw there. Liam Cameron, he had a win against Troy Jones since the Ben Whittaker defeat, so he got himself back into winning ways. But we saw there a guy that was, they were just sort of like worlds apart. It was a passing of the guard, like I say. You see a young fighter coming through that was sort of improving all the time, and Liam Cameron had been there, seen it, done it, been a great servant to the sport. His backstory, has been incredible as well. But it was just one of those nights where, unfortunately, Cameron was just a little bit off the mark. It was quite sad to see in many ways, but it was a fitting end to a great career.
This weekend, live on DAZN and talkSPORT, we see Dave Allen, Doncaster Dave, going in against Filip Hrgović. Dave's going into this fight with an immeasurable amount of confidence, seemingly more confidence than he ever goes into any fight. You've prepared fighters to fight Hrgović. If you're sitting in Dave Allen's corner, Don, how are you preparing him for the challenge of Hrgović?
Dave Allen, I love him.
Yeah,
the character.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
So basically, I just love this guy, yeah? And to go into fighting Hrgović, he has to do what he didn't do against Makhmudov.
Yeah.
Second phase attack, potentially a third phase sustained attack. Had he done that, he would have stopped Makhmudov. Yeah, right. Provided he's got the engine to do phase 1, phase 2, potentially phase 3 attack before disengaging, and Hrgović is soft around the stomach area. Leave his head alone, because that man can take punches.
Yeah, he's tough.
Yeah? He can take punches. I don't think he's ever gone over.
Did you see the last fight where he was cut to pieces, the David Adelaide fight, where he took a barrage
He took
of
about
punches.
20 punch combination from David, and Adelaide can punch. Yeah? And he was rocking him, but he still never went down. So provided Dave Allen can work, fitness is very, very key here. Dave's got all the combinations to cause problems for him.
Right. Kenny, do you think he can pull it off, Spence?
It's a tough ask. It's a tough ask, but you look at Dave Allen's body shape, and he's got a great team with him as well in Jamie Moore.
Correct. Correct.
They will have worked specifically on certain aspects. Dave Allen has trimmed down in weight. What does that tell you? Yes, he is going to go phase 1, phase 2.
He's got a jawline. I'm not taking the piss saying that.
Absolutely.
He looks really well.
Absolutely.
He looks very good.
Listen, I totally agree with that. And you go, right, you know what the game plan's going to be here. He's going to attack. He's going to have to do what Don says, go in phases, and not be lazy in between that, because that was the problem against Makhmudov. He had his moments, he got too lazy in between it. So it's a very tough ask against a world-class operator. Is it winnable? Of course. Listen, we just watched Zach Chelli beat David Morrell. Anything's winnable. It's all about the opportunity, and he has to take this one because
so what's going to be
probably last.
Out of curiosity, fellas, as a unit to ask, what is going to be different in Dave's approach? We've seen David Adelaide. We just talked to him. He couldn't do it against Hrgović, right? We saw Dave Allen going against Makhmudov, and for whatever reason, he didn't do the things he could and should have done that you're saying he could have done in this fight. So what's going to be different against Hrgović? Hrgović is even higher up the totem pole than Makhmudov. So why is it going to be any different?
No, I didn't say it was going to be different. I said what he needs to do to get the victory, because it is a huge ask. I didn't say it was going to be any different. What he needs to do is he needs to be able to apply that pressure much more. Hrgović, by the way, does cut up really, really badly.
But isn't it a state of mind, Don?
Sorry, go on.
Sorry?
Isn't it a state of mind? I mean, we're talking about...
It's a bit more than that.
Is it simply styles in this fight gives Dave a better opportunity?
Styles and the way Dave's a busy fighter. Once you let him into that close quarters, he knows beautiful punches he puts together. Body, head. Where he needs to body, head, disengage, employ the jab to come for a second phase, potentially a third phase. I'm backing him definitely to win this fight.
Dave is better than his record. Dave's a better fighter than he's shown.
You look at his resume,
That's why we've always spoke about him hopefully going and winning that British title, because he's good enough to do so. It's not like other fighters with the saying, he should just win the British and he's not good enough. He is. He needs a lot of luck. He's got to have hope. Maybe Hrgović has a bit of an off night as well, or just gets a bit too, worked up and flustered because Dave's setting such a good pace. Dave has to set a hot pace.
Correct.
He can't be lazy.
Nope.
He's got to go in phases, as you've just said. He's got to be first and third. He's got to make sure that he has the last say in the arguments. And again, he's got to hope for a bit of the rub of the green, because Hrgovic's level's above. He's a class act. But as we've just said, we can't sit here and say he has no chance. He definitely has a chance.
He's got
especially after watching Chelli on the weekend.
Listen, and home advantage is going to be huge for him in this one.
So it's one of those moments, right, which I'm going to replay back to you next time you come in the studio, Don. Okay. I'm going to say to you, are you picking Dave Allen to beat Hrgović?
Look me in the eyes.
I'm looking at you in the eyes.
I will not blink.
Because I want
you
to
not blink.
I'm going to replay it back to you like the moment you said this is easy and that's easy. And I'm going to replay it back to you.
I 100%, in my whole heart, I'm picking Dave Allen for a stoppage. It could be by way of cut.
OK. Right.
Well.
That's unequivocal. If Dave does pull what is an upset, it will be an upset, despite the fact that Don is talking about the fact that he's picking him emphatically. If he does pull off this upset, this opens up another landscape of opportunities for Dave again, doesn't it?
In the heavyweight division, more so than any other division, you're one win away from a huge fight. And that's where Dave Allen's sat right now. You know, he's one win away. Filip Hrgović is a world-ranked fighter. The way that all the titles are going to fragment, with Alexander Usyk sort of, you know, coming out of the game potentially in the next 12 months or so, it's there, man. It's on the table.
It might put an interesting conundrum, because I think, and before we finish the show, I think that what will happen if Hrgović beats Dave Allen is he'll go in next against Moses Atoma.
Good shout.
That'll put a spanner in the works if Dave Allen beats him to the plans for Moses Atoma.
You haven't been speaking to anyone, mate, have you?
I don't know.
Is there any little conversation
You've been on the same laundrette, Spencer goes too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. That's it for episode 171 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan, Spencer Oliver and Paul Smith. Thank you, Don, for being so brilliant.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations for the result of the weekend.
Well done.
Appreciate
and
it.
we'll see you guys next time we're out, which will be next week.